Hi, I'm Mark Sloboda, and this is The Real Politique. This video was made as exclusive content for the Real Politic subscribers on Boosty and our Discord community. However, I'm making it available for you to watch as a sample in case you like what you see and you'd like to see a lot more of it. Then you can join us on Boosty and maybe even considering becoming a subscriber. Um, as a Russian citizen living in Russia, the I'm now, of course, like everyone else, under Western sanctions over the conflict in Ukraine. And I can't make use of the normal content monetization channels, YouTube, Substack, Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee. Yeah, none of it works for me. But Boosty is sanctions proof. It's essentially a Patreon. It's like Patreon, right? And it has worked quite well for me. I'm quite happy with it, and it's sanctions proof. So I collect, first of all of the interviews, the shows, the debates I do on all other formats with all other people there, and anyone is free to watch those. However, I also do exclusive content there 3 times a week. On Mondays, I do an in focus of video on one particular topic and blow it up, right? Look at it in greater depth. On Wednesdays, I do a question and answer session where you get the chance to ask me questions directly, and I'll take my best bat at the answers. And then on Fridays, I do a very thorough week in review, taking a look at the most geopolitical important events and articles and commentary of the week. And it comes out to be usually in excess of 3 hours of exclusive material a week. So, watch this. If you like what you see and you'd like to see more of it, then consider joining us on Boosty and subscribing if you have the inclination and the ability. You will also get access to an exclusive Realpolitik Discord community where you're free to engage in debate and discussion with a degree of like-minded people, but without any NAFO trolls, spam bots, adverts, or anything like that. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the video, and maybe I'll even see you around Boosty and our Discord community. Thank you. Hi, I'm Mark Sloboda, and this is The Real Politique. Today's video is The Real Politique in Focus, Episode 22, Russia's New Weapon Systems, Evolution and Revolution. This is exclusive content for the Real Politik subscribers on Boosty and our Discord community. This video, the In Focus series of videos, is part of my thank you to you for your support of me and the Real Politik. Without your support, this video series and pretty much all of the Real Politik would not really be possible. So once again, sincerely, thank you. During the In Focus series of videos, what I like to do is take a more focused, in-depth look at one particular topic that has been salient in geopolitical news and events over the recent time. And I like to do some further research into it, more focused than the 24/7 frenetic Western mainstream media news cycle usually allows. And I share what I find with you. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started and take a look at Russia's new weapon systems, evolution and revolution. Now, throughout the course of this conflict, you have doubtless heard an enormous amount about Western wonder weapons or Wunderwaffen, right? The next weapon system, high-tech weapon system that will be transferred to the Kiev regime in Ukraine by the West and will be a game changer, right? And it will change everything on the battlefield, and Ukraine will suddenly start winning or start really winning or something of the sort. And I mean, we can tick off the boxes there, Western tanks, the Abrams, the Challenger, the Leopard, the HIMARS system, the ATACMS ballistic missile, the ground launched small diameter bombs, right? We can continue this, the Storm Shadows, the Scalps. We could continue this list ad nauseum. A single one of them has had a strategic effect on the course of events in Ukraine or the battlefield, either due to the inadequacy of these weapon systems or the small amounts that the West was able to provide the Kiev regime in, and their ability to use or not use them untrained. So the latest Wunderwaffen that has been plaguing us in the Western mainstream narratives is the Tomahawks. And here we have a cover from Euronews. Tomahawks for Ukraine, game-changing weapon or leverage over Moscow. And I've talked at length, as many other people have in the alt media, about the problems with the Tomahawk, about the problems with the launchers, and then it's an old relatively slow cruise missile system, and is simply not up to dealing with Russia's electronic warfare and air defense systems. But at least for the moment, the plans to send it to the Kiev regime have been shelved. Trump openly acknowledged that Western military specialists or contractors would have to operate it for the Ukrainians, and he's not up for that, at least at the moment. And if he intended the threat of it as leverage over Russia to try to force Russia to accept a freezing of the conflict, a ceasefire on American terms that would preserve their proxy regime in Kiev, well, Russia was not bluffed or pressured by the threat of the Tomahawks. So it has been neither a game-changing weapon or leverage, but it's far from the only one of these. In fact, last year, the Wall Street Journal had an article that told us high-tech American weapons work against Russia, Western high-tech weapons, until they don't. Moscow is learning how to defeat Western precise munitions in Ukraine. And it goes through this long series of weapons, the Excalibur artillery round, the ground-launched small diameter bomb, the ATACMS, and one by one, it admits that Russian electronic warfare and air defense quickly develop a profile of these weapons and stop it. Often literally with electronic warfare blocking its GPS signals or the like, and turning it into a useless hunk of metal floating in the air until it crashes, or Russian air defense, quickly learning how to track and bring them down. I've often compared it to fighting the Borg in Star Trek. You get a few shots with your phasers, but by then the Borg shields have adapted, and then you're fucked and bored.
Data, cover me.
Captain, they've adapted.
So that is very much the case. And the Tomahawks, even if they were delivered, would have, being GPS guided, would have swiftly followed the same route of disappointing Western wonder weapons. But it hasn't only been Western wonder weapons. The Kiev regime has been talking up what they claimed was going to be the production of their own wonder weapons, their own long-range missiles, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles that would, be game changers, and they would produce them in mass amounts with Western money, with lots of Western money, and then they would bring the battle, deep into the Russian rear, to its command centers and political, aiming at Moscow and the like. Only it didn't quite work out that way. The Sapsan was one such missile, well into production, funded and aided by the West in the construction of ballistic missile system. But the Russian FSB, their domestic intelligence service, and the Russian armed forces worked in concert, and they tracked down every last element of this program. Every place where parts of it were being built, where it was assembled, where it was being designed, who was, responsible for it. And then in a very short period of a couple of months, they destroyed every such facility across the country. And here we have a report on that. Russia's precision strikes cripple Ukraine's West-sponsored Sapsan missile production. Ukraine's military-industrial complex has suffered colossal damage as a result of Russian operation targeting production of the Ukrainian Sapsan ballistic missile system, Russia's Federal Security Service said in a statement. Ukraine's plan to produce Sapsan system for strikes inside Russia were thwarted through joint efforts by the FSB and the Russian armed forces, with precision strikes delivered on Ukrainian defense industry facilities. Development and production of the Ukrainian missiles was unfolding at defense enterprises in the Dnipropetrovsk and Sumy regions with financial backing and technical assistance from Western specialists, the FSB said. Intelligence confirmed Germany's participation in funding Ukraine's program. The FSB also obtained details on the Ukraine defense industry facilities involved in the program, the locations of air and missile defenses, as well as electronic warfare systems, including U.S. and NATO assets. Here we have some footage from the strikes on the design bureaus, the production plants, the missile weapon assembly factories of Ukraine's military-industrial complex that were carried out to prevent the full creation of the Sapsan missile system, which never was actually fired, or at least not yet. It doesn't quite seem like it ever will be now. Not the only one. The Flamingo was one that we've heard a lot about in recent days. Ukraine's Flamingo cruise missile, from flashy Wunderwaffe to flop. Touted as a potential strategic game changer when it was unveiled in August, the Flamingo has not only failed to live up to expectations, but threatens to become Ukraine's next extinct weapons program. Right, it's supposed to be a ground-launched cruise missile with a 3,000-kilometer range and a 500 to 1,000-kilogram warhead, GPS guidance, a turbojet engine, solid rocket fuel. It was essentially a cheap copy of the British Emirati Millennium Group's FP5 missile. Zelensky once threatened that these missiles would be used to attack cities from Moscow to the Urals. This hasn't happened. Instead, it was reported in September that Russia targeted Flamingo production facilities in western Ukraine. More recently, Iskander missiles and Geran drones reportedly attacked a column of trailers thought to be bringing missiles to a launch site. Flamingo is a simplified version of British missile systems, larger and featuring fewer composite materials, judging by available images and footage, making it more visible on radar. Russia already has plenty of experience downing more advanced NATO missiles, meaning it can handle the Flamingo. And just today, Zelensky has came out with a bit of depressing news that the Flamingo is having technical problems and it, isn't really working out. So another extinct Ukrainian Wonderwaffe. However, there have been game-changing wonder weapons on the Ukrainian battlefield. Unfortunately, pretty much every one of them has been Russian, and Russia continues to produce them. The Russian military, if the current trends continue through the end of the conflict, whenever that might be, the Russian military will, as has been acknowledged by Western generals, bit by bit, however grudgingly, although not changing the narrative, that the Russian military will be bigger in numerical terms. It will be bigger in the amount of modern equipment it has. It will be far more battle ready and experienced, not only than it has ever been, but more than any other military in the world, particularly with new technological innovations. And it will be the most modernized and technically advanced military, because Russian military industrial complex is in an evolutionary race, not just against the Kiev regime, but against all of NATO's military design bureaus, working behind them. And it's winning handily. And I don't think there's really any doubt about that. We saw the Oreshnik deployed for the first time last year, and just in August, Putin has announced the completion of its first mass production, that it has gone into serial production and is now being deployed and ready for use. I know a lot of people are waiting impatiently for that, but I'm sure that the Russian military will know when and where to use it. So this is a hypersonic ballistic missile system that moves at a speed and with evasive capabilities that simply render it supposedly, and everyone pretty much seems to agree, completely invulnerable to any existing air defense, supposedly even including Russian air defense, which is by far the world's best. So the first mass-produced Oreshnik hypersonic missile system has entered service with Russia's armed forces, Putin said during a briefing on the military operation in Ukraine. It was first battle-tested in November of last year by conducting a strike on a military factory in Ukraine, in Dnipropetrovsk. The Oreshnik missile is believed to be nuclear capable, although Putin has previously stated its conventional form can inflict damage, particularly when used in clusters, to a low-yield nuclear explosion, so that it is both a conventional and a strategic weapon, even when used with a conventional warhead. So it has now, for the last couple of months, entered into service, although we haven't seen it being used since that initial use in Dnipropetrovsk last year.
Oreshnik is a new experimental Russian missile system. It is the first ballistic missile in the world to be used in actual combat operations during the invasion of Ukraine. Launched from the Kapustin Yar test site in the Astrakhan region, the missile traveled 500 miles in less than 5 minutes, about as long as this video, and struck a military plant in Ukraine. The video footage showed that 7 warheads reached the target, while there were supposedly 8. Each warhead is capable of carrying up to 300 kilotons of nuclear charge. At the time of its use in Ukraine, an ammunition-free modification was used. The missile weighs 1.5 tons and is equipped with a two-stage propulsion system capable of accelerating it to Mach 15 on takeoff and Mach 10 while diving on the target. Mach 10 is a speed of 2 miles per second. This makes the Oreshnik virtually impossible to intercept. Its maneuverability makes its ballistic trajectory unpredictable,
but it is far from the only one. And a lot of the Russian weapon systems that we're seeing are evolving over time. You may remember the lowly Iranian Shahed 136 with its little lawnmower engine, often described as a Dorito in the sky. And we're already on to it's at least the third, it might actually be more than that, generation of the Geran 3 Black. And the new Geran, although the second version, the Geran 2, is still in use for a lot of different purposes. They use them for different types of targets still. But the new Geran 3 has a turbojet engine, rendering it much faster and able to evade the Kiev regime's Western air defense. It also has a much larger high explosive fragmentation incendiary warhead. The new modifications of the Geran attack drones. The development of weapons continues, and the Geran drones remain a prime example of this. Over years, the Iranian-developed drone have been refined in Russia and adapted to the new conflict, and it's really its own beast at this part. So the new turbojet engine on the Geran 3 allows speeds up to 700 kilometers an hour. But however, the Geran 3 is unlikely to completely replace its predecessor, the Geran 2, which has seen improvements and updates of its own, including a built-in repeater to maintain group communication despite electronic warfare, so hardened against electronic warfare. Night vision and cameras to increase efficiency, a larger warhead mass up to 90 kilograms in compartments for cluster munitions, and mines for the remote laying of mines as well. But perhaps the most important thing is the production of the Geran 3, the military industrial scale production, with the Kiev regime warning that by this autumn that Russia would be producing 1,000 Geran long-range kamikaze strike drones a day, and thus able to deploy 1,000 of them against the Kiev regime a day. And indeed, we've seen already strikes of up to 700 and 800 Gerans at a time, and it is we keep seeing new updates with new largest ever strikes. So I'm quite sure that number will increase. And Zelensky himself has suggested that by next year, the number will be 2,000 per day. I'm not quite sure about that, but it's possible.
Russia has reportedly for the first time deployed jet-propelled drones, known as Geran 3, in coordinated airstrikes across multiple regions, including Kiev and northern areas. Reports say at least 8 of these Geran 3 drones were used during a broader night assault, alongside conventional propeller-driven Shahed drones and decoy UAVs. Described as the Russian version of Iran's Shahed 238, the Geran 3 is jet-propelled. Ukrainian authorities recovered debris bearing the serial number U-36 in June 2025, believed to be part of early small-scale production, marking the first confirmed operational deployment of jet-driven kamikaze drones in this conflict. It is reported to measure approximately 3.5 meters in length, with a 3 meters wingspan, weigh around 380 kilograms, climb to altitudes near 9.1 kilometers, and sustain flight for roughly 2 hours, significantly heavier and faster than the older Geran 2 variant. Ukrainian Air Force officials note that these drones' speed, exceeding 500 km per hour, means they appear on radar more like cruise missiles than slow propellerist models, thereby posing heightened challenges to conventional air defenses. Unlike the Geran 2, Geran 3's jet engine gives it a high-pitched acoustic signature, and a reduced radar cross-section, complicating detection by systems designed for Shahed 136 style drones. A recent analysis confirms Russia has shifted from importing Iranian Shahed parts to localizing drone production in facilities, such as the Alabuga Economic Zone in Tatarstan, which houses a plant capable of producing both Geran 2 and the newer Geran 3 models. Plans reportedly aim for thousands of drones per month by mid of 2025.
So some of these evolutions in the Geran have the effects of it can clearly be seen on the battlefield, and they've been much complained about by the Kiev regime and occasionally even mentioned in the Western media with the problems they're causing. The Geran with the night vision equipment and cameras has had a great deal of effect. Much has already been said about the modernization of Geran drones. Today, there was another reason to recall this. New footage of Geran deployment captured drones with thermal imaging cameras and video channels, allowing operators to control the drone in real time. The operator managed to strike a moving locomotive, a target typically considered extremely difficult to hit. The region is experiencing one of the most massive yet methodical attacks since the start of the special military operation. Preliminary data suggests the new modification, Drone MS, was used for the attack. Besides the train, a fuel depot near the settlement of Burevestnik in the Chernigov region was also hit. Several helicopters were guarding the echelon, but the Geran managed to evade and strike the target. In Chernigov and Sumy regions, the drone's primary targets are railway compositions, traction, substations, and locomotives. Manual night control of a drone with 90-kilogram combat payload increases the chance of successfully hitting even well-protected objects. As we can see from the footage over the past year, Geran drones underwent deep modernization in several levels, several evolutionary steps. They now have a system to avoid enemy FPV drone interceptors, all right, taking down drones with drones. Now they can now evade that. The ability to remotely mine highways, a control channel, and now a thermal imager for night attacks. That clearly demonstrates the depth of product modernization and the growth of combat capabilities. Geran has evolved from a simple explosive drone into a truly multifunctional complex capable of solving a wide range of tasks previously only achievable by aircraft. Much more expensive aircraft, it must be said, because other than the production, the most valuable thing is that, even the most advanced drones are still infinitely cheaper than, say, a cruise missile or a aircraft. Getting a great deal of bang for their buck out of this system. Okay, here's another report on these new capabilities of the Geran drones by Rebar, the Russian military analyst. The possibility of online control of Russian long-range drones has been known in recent months. Today, Russian operators demonstrated the advantage of using such a modification. On the morning of October 26th, Geran drones struck a locomotive carrying fuel near the village of Chornoplatovo in Sumy region of the Kiev regime-controlled parts of Ukraine. Objective control of the attack's consequences were recorded by a Russian reconnaissance drone. Importantly, this is not the first strike by Geran drones on a moving train in the border area. Work in this direction is being carried out systematically. This has already led to the cancellation or delay of some routes, and in some regions, one can only travel by bus. The attacks directly impact Ukrainian military logistics in the Sumy and Chernigov regions. Such a raid clearly demonstrates the ability of Russian UAV operators to track and suppress the enemy's actions in the border area. Moreover, new Geran drones with cameras can also be used as spotters. So, what we're seeing with this fall campaign against renewed campaign against the Kiev regime's electrical infrastructure, but also against their train infrastructure, it's used for military logistics, is that the developments in the Geran and its mass scale production at this point, with hundreds, if not in excess of 1,000 of them being produced a day, now enable Russia to take out a whole new series of targets, making them cost effective, right? Because ultimately it's not only effective, but it's also incredibly cheap, again, compared to missiles or putting aircraft at risk or something like that. So this is a capability that is developing not only with technological advancements, but with mass industrial production of them. And it's opening up a whole new range of targets and avenues for attrition of the Kiev regime than have been available before. And here we can see what is purported, filmed on a Ukrainian camera as what is supposedly the final run to target of a Geran 3 on a Ukrainian oil depot, while fighters were already trying to extinguish the fire from a previous strike. And this was in the Chernigov region. However, the Geran, the kamikaze or drone or the loitering munition, however you want to look at it, is not the only such system that has gone modernization and evolution just in the course of the last year of this conflict. Again, the evolutionary arms race is supercharging the and shortening the time from identifying the need for a new development to developing it to putting it through production and getting it into mass production and troops on the battlefield for deployment. It's incredibly short path at this point. And one of these developments is for what was already an incredibly effective system, and this is the Russian FAB glide bombs, right? So the FAB, Russian FAB glide bombs is the equivalent of the US JDAM, right? These are old, Cold War era dumb bombs, right? That would have been dropped from a bomber or a fighter bomber onto targets. Well, now they have inexpensive precision glide kits that help extend them and to target them at precise, turning them into precise long-range strike weapons. And this has been done for some time. Russia has FABs in a variety of sizes, from the 500 kilogram to the 1,000 kilogram to the truly monstrous 3,000 kilogram that is only used at the most heavy of the Kiev regime's fortifications and underground bunkers. So now the latest development with the FABs is a new improvement to the glide kit that guides them. And now it includes, much like the Geran 3, a mini little turbojet engine that now enables them to hit targets from as far away as 150 kilometers, which has just shocked the Kiev regime and NATO in the last couple of weeks, where it suddenly started being used, including at Nikolaev, Dnipropetrovsk, and Krivoy Rog, just a few of the places that have been targeted. And this report here from RT, Russian forces may have tested an upgraded glide bomb capable of striking targets up to 150 kilometers away, which keeps the aircraft, nice away and safe from any remnant NATO air defenses, that might still be in or near the contact line, or actually well back from the contact line at 150 kilometers, but, keeping the aircraft safe. And allowing precision strikes all the same at a really, again, Russia has so many of these old World War II, or sorry, Cold War era bombs, and there's really no foreseeable limit in the number of them, and the glide kits and the new jet glide kits that enable them being turned into precision weapons at various ranges, again, are extremely cheap. It's a very cost-effective system as well, much, much cheaper than a glide bomb, and probably even cheaper than the more modern Geran 3s. So Russian regular glide bombs are typically older gravity bombs modified with aerodynamic kits that add precision and extended range. Most existing models have an estimated reach of between 40 and 70 kilometers, which is already pretty substantial, depending on weight and deployment attitude. The weapons are considered cost-effective and highly destructive, allowing Russian aircraft to demolish fortified Ukrainian fort line positions from a safe distance. The Military Observer Telegram channel claimed that a Russian strike on the city of Nikolaev on Tuesday was carried out with a glide bomb that traveled between 120 and 150 kilometers before hitting its target, simply shocking them. The first time a glide bomb was used on Nikolaev. It was later confirmed that a Su-34 fighter jet had launched this new improved glide bomb from airspace above the Black Sea. So you see the distance there. Officials say the type of weapon was still being identified, adding there were no casualties from the strike. So also no collateral damage. Here, so we see a closer up look at it and how it might work in a graphic format. Russia strapped a small turbojet and wings to a dumb bomb and made an extremely cheap and highly destructive cruise missile. These small innovations in the industrial scale become the actual game changers on the battlefield. Exactly. Now a 500 kilogram bomb can hit anything in a 200 kilometer radius. And the name of the kit is the UMPK-PD system, the extended range. You can see it here being fired from off of a Su-34. FAB 500T is a heat-resistant aerial bomb capable of withstanding aerodynamics heating that occurs during the high-speed fall. And it can carry up to this particular variety can carry up to 300 kilograms of explosives. It's got a turbojet engine now, a folding wing, and Comet satellite navigation system. Here's Rebar's report on this new extended range FAB. About the use of long-range aerial bombs against the AFU rear areas. Ukrainian rear should prepare. The enemy's monitoring resources are recording cases of Russian troops using guided aerial bombs with jet engines. This incident, another incident in Poltava, as well as we mentioned in Nikolaev, Krivoy Rog, Dnipro, a few other places. They initially rationed through that it was a FAB 500 with a new UMPK with a turbojet engine. More important is the fact of increasing the range of aerial bomb applications not only expands the range of targets that can be hit, but also creates new opportunities. Previously, for attacks at a distance over 100 kilometers, one could only rely on the Geran, right, or cruise missiles, which are limited in their combat payload. Right, conventional cruise missiles are the X-101 and X-35 are also expensive. Now it's possible to strike fortified industrial military facilities with a comparatively cheaper and much more powerful munition. So not only the range, but it's also the size of the warhead that these can carry. Again, 500, 1,000 kilogram, 3,000 kilogram varieties, including strategic rear targets like bridges, which are very difficult to destroy with just drones or cruise missiles. So the panic resulting from this on the Kiev regime side is understandable. Guided bombs have become a huge problem for the Kiev regime's military forces. It is the massive use of these bombs in the near rear and on the front line that has become one of the key factors in the success of our troops. It's not the only new weapon system. We supposedly are just hearing about a new air-launched cruise missile, the X-101. The KA, also called the KHBD, or the product 506. According to Ukrainian sources citing linked Russian Defense Ministry procurement, the ministry has for the first time ordered the newest air-launched cruise missile. The document indicates 2 batches of 16 missiles each were purchased, totaling 32 units, including both conventional and special, i.e. nuclear-capable variants. The missiles have reportedly already begun entering service with the Russian aerospace forces, with the first batch delivered in 2024 and the next expected in 2026. Each missile is valued at approximately $4.2 million. The KHBD first surfaced in open sources in 2021 during Kim Jong-un's visit in September of 23, when observers noted this new cruise missile mounted under a Tu-160M bomber. It's believed to be an advanced development of the KH-101 air-launched cruise missile, featuring a heavier warhead and larger dimensions to match its extended capabilities. And once again, Russia is in the middle of a 4-year conflict, but they keep rolling out more evolutions, more advancements, and in some cases entirely new weapons systems. All the time they're churning them out, both on the tactical level on the battlefield, but also for strategic and long range strike weapons, precision strike weapons as well. I should also mention that recently the Russian Iskander ballistic missile has received new attention because the Iskander M ballistic missile, of which Russia has quite a lot, is roughly equivalent to the U.S. ATACMS, except much better, much more advanced weapon. It now is capable of doing advanced evasion measures on the terminal spiral, to its target. And this has the Kiev regime and NATO complaining that they just can't stop it anymore. The Patriot success rate, even officially, the Kiev regime says that the Patriot success rate in bringing down the new Iskanders is now down to 6%. Right, which means it's probably less than half that. I mean, it gets, if that's what they're saying officially, it's probably less than 3%, if they've ever managed to bring one down at all. Again, in the middle of conflict, new evolution of these systems that have real battlefield effects. These are the wonder weapons of the conflict in Ukraine, and they are destroying the Kiev regime and NATO forces every day. The latest one, the latest one that is not just an evolution of an existing weapon system, making it more useful, more cost effective, more dangerous, but this is a revolution, and this is the Burevestnik, and this is a nuclear powered cruise missile that has just finally, the Russian government has been talking that it was coming for several years now, and it appears to have finally emerged from tests and be ready for mass production and then deployment. And it's quite obvious that Russia is making this big announcement now. They've been conducting final tests, that have been noticed in the media. But this is quite obviously a signal to the U.S. government about the sending of Tomahawks. You thought you could pressure us with the Tomahawks? Well, here is our nuclear-powered cruise missile with an effectively infinite range, right? Capable of being recalled. So much more modern than your old Tomahawk. Which, by the way, is also nuclear capable, but certainly is not capable of what the Burevestnik would be capable of. It's a response to that. Don't even think about that. Don't you're not in our league. Do not think that you can pressure us with this. This was the announcement of it. It has been in development for a long time, but the announcement of it, it coming as it is now, as the Trump administration has been talking about, and now apparently putting to the side the idea of using Tomahawks against Russia, and having the fig leaf that they're being transferred to Ukraine. They've at least for the moment, decided that discretion is the better part of valor. Some recent news about it arriving at this final test stage in August from the 7th to the 12th. Russian forces closed a 500-kilometer stretch of aerospace along the western coast of the Novaya Zemlya archipelago. Novaya Zemlya is an archipelago with one big main island. It's in the Russian Arctic, north of Russia proper. Actually, some beautiful Arctic wilderness there, by the way. A great chance to see some polar bears, walruses, the like. It's for those of you who like the stark beauty of the Arctic as I do. It's really a stunning place. But anyway, so restrictions typically associated with flight tests. Increased transport and engineering activity has also been observed at the Penkoba test site previously used for the Burevestnik program. While no official confirmation has been given, the extended preparations at the range and aerospace closure point to a high level of readiness for a trial launch. Novaya Zemlya has served as a primary nuclear weapons testing ground since the Soviet era. Since the late 1950s, it has hosted trials of unique weapon systems, including the largest thermonuclear detonation in history, better known as the Tsar Bomba. Unlike conventional cruise missiles, powered by jet engines, the Burevestnik uses a compact nuclear reactor as an engine, enabling it to remain airborne for extended periods and making it effectively intercontinental. This allows it, so an intercontinental, effectively infinite range cruise missile capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. This allows it to bypass missile defense zones, right? So you identify a missile defense zone, you send a signal, and it can just skirt the other way around the world if it has to avoid that air defense zone and strike targets from unexpected directions. Debate continues over the missile's warhead, its unlimited range, its ability to circumvent air defenses makes sense primarily if it carries a nuclear warhead, which we're told that it is capable of carrying. Quantities that would be far less strategically valuable with a conventional payload. But as it turns out, this revolution is actually not the first time that a nuclear-powered cruise missile has been attempted. In fact, the U.S. attempted to make a nuclear-powered ramjet engine for a cruise missile in the late 1950s and early 1960s. It was called Project Pluto. Right? It was tested first in Los Alamos and the Lawrence Radiation Laboratory, and then eventually it was moved. The testing of it was moved to some islands off the U.S. coast. The problem with it, among other things, was that their design was quite bad, and it effectively terribly irradiated everything that it was flying over. And evidently, eventually, due to that and several other technical issues, they completely dropped the whole program. So it never saw production, never saw any type of full-scale production, deployment, or use. However, it appears what was attempted by the U.S. back then has been perfected by Russia today. Here we can see a representation. This is, I understand exactly what it looks like. Even the coloring. RT's report on it. The new unlimited range cruise missile can bypass air defenses. The Burevestnik, noted for its unlimited range, was test fired earlier this month, covering a distance of over 14,000 kilometers in its test flights. Think about that, 14,000 kilometers, just going around, doing maneuvers, right? And keep flying and flying and flying. It flew for some 15 hours, I believe. Russia's new unlimited range nuclear-powered missile, the Burevestnik, can evade missile defenses, according to the Russian chief of the general staff, Valery Gerasimov. He made the remarks during Putin's visit to a Russian army command post along the front. Putin held a meeting with Gerasimov and other senior military commanders, during which he was briefed of the situation along the line of the contact and on its offensive training exercises, including Russia just held strategic nuclear force drills of all three branches of its nuclear triad, right? It's ICBMs, it's like ground-launched ICBMs, it's bomber-launched nuclear cruise missiles, as well as its submarine launched cruise missiles as well. And this has all occurred in the past week or so. The missile completed a multi-hour flight that covered 14,000 kilometers, though he stressed that this is not the range limit for the Burevestnik. It essentially has an effectively unlimited range for any normal purposes. The technical characteristics of the Burevestnik missile make it capable of striking highly protected targets at any distance with guaranteed accuracy. During the test flight, the missile successfully performed all designated vertical and horizontal maneuvers, demonstrating its strong ability to evade anti-missile and air defense systems. So they seem to have gotten the last few kinks out of the system and made a system that the Americans could never make work. So it's, again, a nuclear-powered unlimited range strategic cruise missile designed to destroy high-value targets, including fortified bunkers, if used with a conventional warhead. It is undetectable by conventional radar because it flies very low, right? It flies like cruise missiles do in general. It flies at about 25 meters above the ground. Right? It's not hypersonic. It is supersonic, but it doesn't reach hypersonic speeds like say the ballistic hypersonic missile, the Oreshnik does, or other hypersonic missiles like the Kinjal or the Zircon. But it's undetectable by conventional radar. It can only be tracked by specialized spacecraft during the launch and acceleration phases, and only then if they get lucky. Putin first revealed the missile production in 2018, describing it as a one-of-a-kind weapon system that does not follow a ballistic trajectory, rendering most existing missile defense systems ineffective, like the Patriot, which are designed to target ballistic missile systems. He noted that its unlimited range allows it to maneuver indefinitely, is a unique product that no one else in the world has, while stressing that much work remains before it can be placed on combat alert. Nothing one else has anything like this. It is a revolution in military strategic terms. He even kind of hinted, we don't know what we're going to use it for, whether it's going to be primarily conventional use or strategic use. I'm sure they fully know. That's part of some type of ambiguity, intentional ambiguity. And here we can see another mock-up of it. Here we can see the speed of 850 to 1300 kilometers an hour. So it's not supersonic, not hypersonic. The flight altitude, it flies as low as 25 meters, 25 to 100 meters, and it can carry a nuclear warhead with an effectively unlimited range. Now, here we have another detailed look at this. The Burevestnik has flown a missile with a nuclear power plant. It completed a 15-hour flight covering about 14,000 kilometers on a nuclear engine without radioactive contamination of the air and terrain, unlike when the U.S. was attempting to construct it. It's an overpowered weapon created based on Soviet groundwork after the U.S. withdrew from the anti-ballistic missile treaty. So this is another one of a series of weapons like the Kinjals, right, like the Oreshniks, that Russia began development on when the U.S. unilaterally withdrew from the anti-ballistic missile treaty in the early 2000s and began deploying missile defense in Romania and Poland. Russia said, you do this, we're going to have to take steps. And these, a little over a decade or 2 decades later, these are the results, right? Something that cannot be stopped by any existing or near future Western air defense. A postcard to those who need it, delivered with 100% monitoring of the tests via satellite and special reconnaissance aircraft. From open source, it is known the missile has a compact reactor with a power of several megawatts based on uranium-235. The air is heated and pushes the device forward, effectively a ramjet, while the active zone with a closed architecture is separated from the working flow. Tasks that seemed unsolvable in the mid-20th century and even a few years ago have been realized in working hardware. The main problem has been solved: total atmospheric pollution during tests and flights. That is no longer a problem. This is precisely why the British Avro Z-59 with a nuclear ramjet engine and the American Pluto, that I already mentioned, a supersonic flying Chernobyl, were shut down. Opponents decided it was easier not to show off and to bombard the enemy with conventional cruise and ballistic missiles instead. Missile launches using a solid fuel booster, then flies on the nuclear rocket engine. The platform can circle for weeks at low altitudes, right? A nuclear loitering munition with an unlimited range. That is what it is. It is a true, capable of being a true, not just a cruise missile, but a loitering munition and carrying a nuclear warhead. It's a very interesting, you could say, I've heard it described as exotic capability. Maneuvering and approaching the target from a completely unexpected direction. It is about 9 meters long and weighs up to 10 tons. It can fly for weeks at speeds up to 1,000 kilometers per hour at any altitude, circle over the Arctic or oceans, and wait for orders patiently, infinitely patiently. A megaton-class warhead turns this bird into a terrifying instrument of retribution. Experts are puzzled about the navigation system in this wonder device. Optical correction is powerless over the ocean. Satellites can be jammed, and inertial instruments lose accuracy without external correction. Armchair missile experts are already discussing complex hybrids, astro-inertial navigation, magnetic gravitational maps, local beacons in the Arctic. We'll find out eventually. In military adjacent communities, also assumed that Burevestniks may serve not only as warhead carriers, but also as a strategic communication relays or reconnaissance platforms. In a nuclear exchange scenario, such a device could map surviving objects or orbit in the sky and maintain communication without satellites, particularly if satellites have been targeted in some type of ablative cascade maneuver. And they add this. How did the rocket engine engineers sing in the lullaby? This little piece of poetry here. Little mice sleep, little hedgehogs sleep. The country sleeps. The states have fallen asleep. Everyone is asleep until dawn. Only the winged missile rushes in the heights, in the silvery silence. So the New York Times has reported grimly about this. Putin says Russia now has nuclear-powered missile. Because of its power sources, the Burevestnik can remain airborne far longer than other nuclear-armed missiles. The New York Times writes that the Burevestnik was created as a response, well, not to the American anti-missile defense project Golden Dome, which is just something new Trump has dreamed up, but any anti-ballistic missile system, right? Again, it was started development in seriousness when the U.S. pulled out of the anti-ballistic missile treaty. The development of which was previously announced by Trump. Okay, according to the publication, the emergence of such a missile undermines the very idea of U.S. missile defense and causes serious concern in NATO. The article notes that Russia allegedly began work on the Burevestnik in the early 2000s, as I said, after Washington withdrew from the 1972 ABM Treaty. The Russian president first presented the missile in 2018 as an asymmetrical response to the U.S. attempt to build an impenetrable missile shield. Not so impenetrable, it turns out. Experts emphasize the nuclear power plant allows the missile to stay in the air for many times longer than conventional cruise missiles and bypass any multi-level missile defense system, multi-layers. That is why, according to American analysts, Trump's project to create a golden dome, it's always got to be gold with Trump, may prove to be a failure already at the conceptual stage. This is a tiny flying Chernobyl, Jeffrey Lewis, a nuclear non-proliferation expert, said in a comment to the publication. This is a highly disturbing development, another science fiction weapon that destabilizes the strategic balance, and it's very difficult to include in the arms control system. It's really terrible when those science fiction weapons become science reality weapons. The New York Times also notes the successful tests become the first major signal of nuclear deterrence after Trump's return to the White House and are addressed not so much to Europe as directly to Washington. From an interesting bit from that New York Times article, the Burevestnik, which is also the NATO designation as the SSC X9 Skyfall, I always got to get a dramatic name, is in Russian, the Burevestnik is a type of bird, the storm petrel, right? A bird that folklore would have you believe foreshadows a storm. So I've seen other translations of the name as the Stormbringer, which is a little poetic, but I like it. The weapon has been in the works for many years, and analysts say its successful test does not come as a surprise. Still, it is a cause for concern. According to Jeffrey Lewis, a nuclear non-proliferation expert, a tiny flying Chernobyl. This is a bad development. Science fiction weapons are going to be destabilizing and hard to address in arms control. And again, it was built directly as a response to George W. Bush unilaterally withdrawing from the anti-ballistic missile treaty, and the U.S. beginning placing missile defense in Europe, in Romania and Poland. Mr. Trump has spoken often of developing a shield he calls the Golden Dome, got to be golden, that he says would make the United States impervious to missile attacks. The Burevestnik is engineered to evade any Golden Dome-like system. That's got to be a slap in his face. So here we see another mock-up of it. You can see where the reactor, the turbine is the compressor up front, the speed, unlimited range, flies only 25 to 100 meters, so, radar avoidable, and can carry a nuclear warhead. And here's a write-up, Beyond Reach, Why America's Golden Dome. Again, still in the conceptual states, may be powerless against Russia's doomsday missile. The technical characteristics of the Burevestnik make it capable of striking highly protected targets at any distance with guaranteed accuracy. So one final thing I want to say about the Burevestnik is I think an operational capability that it has that a lot of people aren't mentioning and I think aren't quite getting. So it has an infinite range, right? And it is capable of being controlled at a distance or directed at a distance. And it's already been mentioned that it can be recalled, right? So you can fire this thing, then let it do loitering munition, lazy loops over the Arctic or wherever, at just 25 meters or so for days, for weeks before making a decision to go ahead. And this is one of these first strike dilemmas, right? You believe that a missile, say, is hurtling towards Moscow. Maybe it's a Tomahawk, and you don't know whether that Tomahawk is carrying a conventional or a nuclear warhead. Do you launch a nuclear response right away, despite, the possibility that it's not nuclear tipped, just to make sure that it's not a first strike that will take out much of your retributive capacity and potentially your capital city, right? Or something of the like. It is a moral dilemma. Well, now that dilemma is removed because you can launch the Burevestnik and have it hang out for hours, for days above a potential target, and then bring it back if you don't need to use it. That is a whole new capability that a lot of people just aren't getting what that means. It means that Russia is able to make that split-second decision without any worry at all, right? It gives them a first strike deniance ability with that, right? Because they won't have that question. They will be able to launch and then bring it back if they don't actually need to use it. No one else has anything like that. Anyway, we just celebrated, at least the military summit. I'm not going to say it's a national holiday, but the official holiday in the U.S. Just passed Strategic Missile Forces Day in Russia. Or will be celebrating, technically, coming around this year, December 17th. This Strategic Missile Forces, the dynamically evolving service arm, is crucial to deterring large-scale aggression against Russia and its allies, according to the commander of Strategic Missile Forces, Sergei Karakeyev. The creation and development of the force came in response to advancements in both domestic and foreign missile systems and nuclear competitors. And here is just a brief rundown of some of the other high-tech missiles and strategic systems that are undergoing both evolution and, in a few cases, also like the Burevestnik revolution that we haven't touched on today. The R-36M, the Voyevoda, the fourth generation intercontinental ballistic missile system. It's ground-based, and can carry up to 10 multiple independent target reentry vehicles, MIRVs, each with a yield of 550 to 750 kilotons, which is just an unthinkable apocalypse in a can. The RS-18 Stilet, this ICBM can carry up to 6 MIRV warheads, each with a yield of up to 750. The RS-12M2 Topol, versatile ICBM system available in both road mobile and silo-based variants. It carries a single nuclear warhead with an 800 kiloton explosive yield. Topol is an older system. The YARS is another new system. It's an ICBM that can be deployed on both road mobile and silo-based systems, carrying a payload of 3 reentry vehicles, each with a nuclear yield of about 200 kilotons. The Sarmat entered into combat duty only a couple of years ago. It's designed to replace the Voyevoda ICBM. It can carry up to 16 warheads, each with an explosive yield of 750. The Avant-Garde hypersonic glide vehicle, launched by an ICBM. The Avant-Garde can reach speeds of Mach 27 and has an estimated nuclear yield between 800 kilotons and 2 megatons. The Burevestnik that we talked about today, a nuclear-powered, nuclear-armed strategic cruise missile, successfully underwent state tests in October 2023. The stealthy Burevestnik is said to be unstoppable by existing and future air defenses. And lastly, the Oreshnik, a mobile ground-based intermediate-range hypersonic ballistic missile system that underwent combat tests in November 2024. It carries a non-nuclear MIRV-type payload, although it's theorized it could also carry a nuclear one, and can achieve speeds of Mach 10, making it unstoppable by any existing air defense forces. And I don't know if we want to celebrate these weapons, or I guess at some level, some level of grim logic, we can appreciate their strategic deterrence value, because ultimately that is what they are intended as when we're talking strategic weapons, as deterrence to prevent other countries with strategic weapons from using those strategic weapons against your country. And once again, unfortunately, we are in an arms race. We have been in a qualitative arms race since the U.S. pulled out of the ABM Treaty in the early 2000s, as these developments show. But if the U.S. does not renew the New START Treaty that Putin has offered, while a new version of the treaty is worked out that might consider other countries and more technological developments since the original New START Treaty, then if that's gone, that's the last piece of Cold War era strategic, architecture gone, limiting the nuclear arms race, and then we could potentially be in both a qualitative and a quantitative new arms race. On that depressing final note, that's all I have for you this evening on this topic. I will keep you updated with any new developments on it. So good night and do svidaniya.